Good afternoon on this Wednesday. I'm First Alert Meteorologist Diane Phillips, and I welcome you into our First Alert Weather Desk as we are going to be highlighting the severe weather that impacted the Lower Peninsula yesterday. Of course, it was kind of a busy afternoon. If you have family and friends there, I'm sure that you were eagerly waiting to find out and hear from them as those storms were rolling through. So we are going to recap that event. As far as where we currently sit, it's 2:30 here on this Wednesday afternoon. And I had just checked with our partners at the National Weather Service, and we are still awaiting for those surveys. They have not released any surveys, which those surveys do include like the strength, the winds, the distance, the width of the tornado. They are going to go and get all of that data here today during the daylight, and hopefully we will have that either today or tomorrow. Of course, there was a lot of activity yesterday, so they are going to be busy getting those reports out. And of course, when we have those, we'll be of course carrying those on all of our news apps, but also on air and online. So of course, I know you're wanting to get a little more info on what happened last night. So of course, the National Weather Service will be providing those surveys. We are going to be recapping with some of the videos and images that we have seen coming out of West and Southern Michigan. We are very fortunate here in mid-Michigan that we didn't have, as far as the strong weather and the storms, we didn't have to worry about that last night. But doesn't mean that we're in the clear. We're just getting into the warm weather season. That means severe weather is always going to be a part of that. So being weather aware here during these months is something that we ask all of you to do. And of course, you can get the latest information from your TV5 First Alert weather team. To start us out, though, I do want to share some of the video that was shared across our news platforms. And this is going to be coming in from Portage here, this video. This is just some of the destruction that we have seen. So this is coming from a strip mall there that is, well, maybe not going to be reopening here quickly, but we do find that, of course, you have the wires that are torn apart. We also have conditions where you have that the insulation that's been torn apart, and even the roof collapse structurally. Of course, the conditions here are not really favorable. Of course, it looks a little bit fast here on that turn, but of course, cleanup crews, they're going to not only be cleaning up today, but we're going to continue to see them cleaning up as we go into the next couple of days. So of course, infrastructure, there's a lot of businesses that have been impacted, but there's also been a lot of homes that have seen impacts from this storm as well. Of course, that's so difficult. Folks, families, just all their possessions misplaced or even missing. So of course, we send our thoughts and our positive vibes to the families, our friends who are having to clean up in such a tough situation. Here's a look at a mobile home park that's around the Portage area. And you can see that, of course, this was definitely impacted with a lot of the homes there definitely being, of course, knocked over and kind of broke down. It was really isolated through that mobile home park. But of course, mobile homes is always kind of an interesting topic when we are talking about severe weather, because I have talked with the folks from the Manufactured Home Association in Lansing, and they said that a lot of the homes are rated towards about 70, getting up towards 80-mile-per-hour winds. So that does equate about an EF0, even kind of getting close to an EF1 tornado. But beyond that, you're going to find that maybe those winds are going to be a little too strong for some of those structures. So of course, we do want to remind folks, if you are in a mobile home, some of the conditions that you need to be thinking about before severe weather is where is your safe spot, and knowing when that watch is issued, you're going to head to that location. As far as not staying, I know it's hard to leave home. I know. But when you are in a mobile home, you're going to want to head to a sturdier shelter. Maybe you have a clubhouse in your community. Maybe you have family and friends that are just down the road and they have a basement. You just want to know and have those connections set up to where when severe weather does strike, you know where you can go and then stay safe during those storms. So thinking ahead, even before the storms are happening, even before the watch, if you have that set up for you, that's going to be a big help and one less thing that you have to worry about when the storm is happening. Of course, if you are outdoors, you're going to, again, want to head into that clubhouse, get to the lowest level. The goal is to get underground because of the flying debris. You just want to get away from that debris that can just be coming at such a quick rate of speed. Now, of course, if no shelter is available, then we do recommend those low-lying areas like a ditch to lie flat, cover your head. Again, the main goal is to get away from the flying debris. We saw in one of our videos coming in from CBS that they had a 2x4 that had been broken in half. And just imagine that flying through the air when we're talking 100 miles per hour. And if you were out there vulnerable, that's definitely a scary situation. So that's why we ask you to shelter. And that's typically why we see the majority of injuries is from flying debris, not necessarily just even impact, because that tornado, it's still going to be able to cover a wide area, and that is going to be able to then throw that debris across some space. So make sure you are cautious and make sure you're just sheltering. Of course, the basement, if you have that, that's the number one place to go. If you don't have that, we will be talking about other locations within your home that you can shelter in. I do want to share another video. This was captured of the tornado starting to form here early on in the video. It's kind of hard to see the structure, and this is also, though, a pretty good reminder that when you are looking out the window and you're catching these videos, of course, do not head outside to get the video. We don't have to see it. We want you safe. That's the number one priority. But you can see here that this storm is starting to develop, and there it is reaching the ground. One thing that we're kind of looking for in these videos is, because we can't quite see the ground, is it making contact with power lines? Are we seeing blue flashes? We don't necessarily see that all that well here. But the other thing is some tornadoes are rain wrapped, and it's kind of hard to see when you have a wall of rain that's just surrounding your tornado. So that's, again, why the number one thing you need to do is shelter during these storms, because though they may be interesting to see them go by, just sheltering and staying safe, that's the number one goal when we're in these situations. Of course, I'm sure you've seen a lot of videos and images on social media, so this is only a handful. And as far as the destruction there, of course, people are going to be cleaning up for a while. So if you have family and friends, make sure you just reach out to them. If they need your help, you can head on over there. But of course, we always recommend don't drive around. You don't know where those down power lines are. And of course, emergency managers and first responders, they have to be there and they have to be cleaning things up. So we don't want to get in their way, because that's just going to slow down our recovery process. So that's just some of the samplings that we had from the conditions there. I do want to go over some of the radar conditions that we saw from this system. And as I bring that up, yesterday afternoon we had that tornado watch that was issued just west and south of here. Nobody in mid-Michigan even had any watches or warnings, but the action really started yesterday afternoon. I have the clock starting here at 4:30, and as these storms come off the lake, that's always a wild card, seeing storms come off the lake. Sometimes they stall out and they just don't have anything left because the water's been able to enhance them. Other times they're enhanced by the land and they're really able to get going. And that's what we found here with this situation, is that these storms, they came off the water, they found an environment that was very favorable, and you can see that we have those conditions of those storms coming through Kalamazoo and right there along the state line, even coming across to 131, and then still into Branch and Hillsdale counties. We saw conditions there and that also supported some of those storms. So to slow this down, I stopped the clock here at 5:24. This is about when that first tornado warning was issued. The storm was just north of Dowagiac, and you can see it's still west here of Portage at this time. But this was the storm that we were all watching, because already at this point, typically you start to see a hook. So your rotation goes, you have that wind that's kind of funneling in where you see a little bit of that yellow dropping. So typically as your storm starts to spin, then your tornado is located around this portion of your storm. So this is going to continue to push north and east. And at this point, we didn't have anything on the ground, but it was radar indicated, meaning meteorologists are able to look at radar and we can say, okay, the storm is rotating. It is capable of producing a tornado. We are going to issue that tornado warning, and you need to make sure that you are taking shelter in your safe place. Also at this time, the storms that we had around Porter and Three Rivers, that was also trying to take advantage of the environment and to get going during that time frame. So this is really kind of the setup as we were watching this beginning to unfold, and then with a little bit of time, I'm now here at 6:06 where I have this radar snapshot, and you're going to find at this point the storm has already moved through Portage, so that's going to continue to move through the town. But I also want to highlight this cell right here. So this is just west of Burlington, south of Battle Creek, and that cell at this point was also starting to show tornadic conditions on radar. We have a lot of tools that we can use on our radar. Sadly, a lot of that data did not save over. It's only in the short term that we have that. But still, we still have that hooking structure here to where that storm is trying to rotate and get going. I also want to point out this storm here in Branch County, just southwest of Coldwater. You can already see it's kind of arching, kind of trying to hook and bring itself around. So again, we had the environment that it was going to support these storms as they were coming in and try to get them spinning. So that's still what we see. Yet another storm that was south there of Coldwater, that was also trying to fire up along the state line. We found quite a few watches and warnings. Of course, we had the watch already blanketed there, but the warnings also started to blanket along each one of these cells as they were coming in. So it was definitely a busy evening as these storms started to push through. Here we are at around 6:42. We're still finding that these storms are pushing in, getting a little bit closer to Jackson County, but we find that we're moving out of an environment that is not necessarily favorable for storms. So that's where we did start to see these storms weaken just a little bit, but all in the meanwhile, just a little bit later, there was reports just a little bit ahead of 7:30. I saved this shot here on radar because you can still see a little bit of that hook, but there were reports from trained weather spotters that they had seen at least a funnel cloud, if not a tornado, reported again in Portage. They had 2 calls come in for that. So that prompted again another warning for the Portage area. National Weather Service crews are out there surveying. Of course, they were pretty identical spots, and there's just a lot of damage there. So they are, as far as confirmation, we are still waiting for them to confirm if there were 2 tornadoes, if they were able to make contact with the ground. So we're still waiting for that information. I'll take a quick check here, see if anything has come in. And no, I don't have anything from our National Weather Service partners. So that was kind of a look at the radar and what we had working within the storm. Of course, I wasn't able to show you the velocities or our winds because that's kind of a telltale sign and an indicator for us. You're also going to find as far as our debris ball. So sometimes we have those conditions too, where we are able to see if we have any flying debris within the storms. So I also want to talk about, because we kind of had a first within this system, is going to be the warnings that we had. So maybe you're like, okay, I'm familiar. I know what to do with the watch. We have the tornado watch. That means I need to be watching for the weather. It's a watch after all, and that the conditions, the ingredients are there. We don't quite have the storm coming together, but it's possible. The warning is though when everything comes together and we are seeing that it is able to develop. So it's either radar indicated at this point, and also spotters who go out and chase, they are able to go and say, hey, I spotted this, and give us a little bit more confirmation. Now, last night was the first time in the state of Michigan that we have had a tornado emergency, or a PDS, potentially dangerous situation. And those are kind of the highest level as far as those warnings. So typically when we have those, that means that we have that severe threat to human life, where you could be talking about catastrophic damage, just really kind of finding these systems that are going to be very much destructive at this point. So that, again, that's kind of that higher level warning. We saw that towards the state line, where we saw some of these tornadoes. The one thing to consider is when that they do issue those emergencies, is that they very much take into consideration population. So if we have a tornado that is on the stronger side, headed towards a highly populated area, they have then that right, or even that thought, that they can exercise that emergency warning as far as what you hear coming in over your weather radio, or that notification that you get on your apps. I know that there's a lot of info when those details come down, but they are all full of great information as far as keeping you and your family safe, and just knowing what you're working with. It's also a big help to us to know kind of what we're working with. The other thing I want to point out is with that emergency one, typically that's also reserved for tornadoes where they anticipate the winds to be at least an EF2 or greater. And when you get to EF4, EF5, that's just a violent tornado at that point. So considering those are a lot of times just reserved for stronger tornadoes, that really means that we need to head to our safe spot. We got to know where it is. Time is of the essence. We don't have time to wait in that situation. Now, another thing that I also want to cover, because it may be, whoa, I didn't know that there was multiple warnings available. The same with severe thunderstorm warning. So back in 2021, we had just our base severe thunderstorm. So the criteria was 58-mile-per-hour wind gusts within the thunderstorm and or quarter size or 1-inch hail. So that's just kind of still the base. That's what we're working with now. That's still the rule. So when you get that severe thunderstorm warning, no, the storm could have winds up to about 60 miles per hour or that quarter size hail. But then again, in 2021, they went and added a considerable tag. So we call them tags because you'll find them there at the bottom, kind of just like a little shopping tag almost. So you'll see those in the bottom of your warning when it comes on your phone. And they have that considerable tag for when you have 70-mile-per-hour winds and then about 1 3/4 inch or golf ball size hail. So you may be thinking, wow, that's a lot for a severe thunderstorm. And it is. And it's very much capable that our severe thunderstorms can reach to that. I want to point out that 70-mile-per-hour winds, even if they're not rotating, they can do tornadic damage. So a lot of people go, oh, it's a severe thunderstorm warning, I'm fine. No, they're just as dangerous as if we were in a tornado situation. So that's why we have just now that extra layer to know, okay, the criteria within this is going to be a little bit stronger. Even locally, when we had a considerable tag, it was last year when we had all that hail in Davison. And remember how much all the damage that we had just from that hail. So that definitely justified when we're talking golf ball size hail. Of course, we had a lot of vehicles with damage, homes with damage, just very destructive. But speaking of destructive, in that situation, we weren't quite to that tag. But then the third kind of top level as far as those severe thunderstorm warnings is going to be what we call destructive. So that's when you have 80-mile-per-hour or higher winds that are going to be possible within your severe thunderstorm, and we're talking baseball size hail. So that's about 2 3/4 of an inch, or even bigger. We saw even bigger hailstones yesterday. So that destructive tag is how you're going to know on that one is if you are under that warning. Thankfully, the WEA or the weather emergency alerts that come to your cell phone. So if you have those turned on your phone, if we ever have one of those in our area, or if you are in the warning area for that, your phone is going to go off. Of course, you're going to get any watches and warnings from the TV5 First Alert weather app. But as far as getting that destructive tape, you'll still get that from us, but it is good to have that really loud and the vibration of your phone going off to where you know I have to seek shelter immediately. So this is kind of a lot of information to go through, and it's a lot to kind of understand, but just know that your First Alert weather team, we're watching it. We understand these tags. We're going to make sure that you know, one, to seek shelter, where the location at, and what those threats are for you. So of course, we'll kind of do a lot of the work. Just make sure you connect with us during those severe weather events, and we'll make sure that you're ready to go. And now, of course, during times like this, you got to have a plan. And if you're not prepared, it's going to be a panic when these situations arise. So I do want to talk about tornado safety and then where to go, because I understand, yeah, if I'm in a mobile or manufactured home, I don't have a basement. Maybe my house doesn't even have a basement. So where do I go? Well, of course, it's a given. Everybody knows that we have to go to the basement. That's going to be like the top place to go. And the reason that the basement is picked is because it gets you below ground. So as any debris is flying around, typically that's happening a little bit higher than above ground. But if you don't have a basement, well, then where do we go? Well, the answer is going to be, let's go back. So the answer is going to be the most interior side of your home or interior wall. So maybe that's a closet, maybe that's a bathroom. Not everybody's house looks like this, but you're gonna wanna aim for locations that are away from outside walls. So here you can see that bathroom is still on that outside wall. So you're gonna wanna stay towards the center of your home, and you're gonna wanna have as many walls between you and the outside world. That's the goal. You're also gonna wanna avoid windows. You're gonna want to avoid windows and outside walls, mainly anywhere that can get that flying debris in. Another thing, I remember when I was a kid and we would do tornado drills at school, we had to open a window as far as pressure. As far as what scientists have said, the pressure is not going to be as much of a concern as what the flying debris is and how dangerous that can be to you. So don't waste the time opening the windows. It's not necessary. Just make sure you're heading to your safe spot. So whether that's a small closet, the bathroom, or whether it's even in a hallway in your home that's like the most interior portion. Again, the best advice, put as many walls between you and the outside world and stay away from doors and windows. You just want to get away from the outdoors. That's the main concern with this. So the other things that I do want to cover is this situation could have very much happened also here in mid-Michigan. But the question is, why didn't it happen? Well, yesterday we were talking about ingredients that we didn't have. We really didn't have a lot of moisture, and then the energy became a big issue. And I want to show you on our weather system here. So energy. So this is our convective available potential energy, or what we call CAPE. So basically, how much power do these storms have? So this is where we were yesterday afternoon at 4:30, and you can kind of see that green, that blue. That's where the energy is pooling. So as these storms were coming off of Lake Michigan, they ran into an environment that was very souped up and ready to go to kind of fire off these storms. So the storms fed off of the energy that was available. And then as we continued to push through into the evening, you're going to find that energy still kind of moved along, but it kind of faded out before it got to 127. So that's why a lot of those storms, when I mentioned earlier, we're starting to see them weaken. They were really kind of running out of the energy and the juice to get going. But the main point is we didn't see any of this blue really come in during the severe weather time frame in mid-Michigan. None of our counties saw it. So that's why we did not issue the first alert weather day, is we were really wondering, are we even going to have enough energy for these storms to get going? And we didn't, plain and simple. That's why the threat was not here in mid-Michigan for us to see these conditions coming through. So just a little bit as far as yesterday and what those conditions were. Of course, if you have any questions or even just wanting to stay updated on severe weather, of course, we always have a lot of that going on. It's on our TV5 First Alert Weather app. And then also we're going to have coverage here during our newscast. We're talking 5:30, 6 o'clock. We're going to have additional information on things to do. One of the things and one of the questions I know that was asked in our newsroom, because this storm did cross over a highway, the question was, what do I do if I am in my car and there's a tornado there? Well, it's kind of a tricky spot to be in. You're going to find that the best advice is to be able to, let me bring up my car safety graphic here. So the best advice is to not, of course, drive into the storm. That's a given, we all know. If you are able to turn around, safely turn around and get to the nearest shelter, whether that's going to be a store, your friend's house that's across the street. If you're able to get inside a sturdy structure, that's the place to go. If no shelter is available, again, you're going to want to find a low-lying area like a ditch, maybe a little gully, something that gets you a little bit below ground. Of course, you want to hope that it is free of water, because we don't want to have drowning concerns, but you're going to want to lie flat in that area and cover your head. Again, the main goal during this is to make sure that you are avoiding the flying debris that's going to be outside. Of course, it's dangerous to not have anything protecting your body, but the biggest thing is make sure that you're not getting hit by anything that tornado could be picking up. Another thing that I want to stress is do not park under overpasses. This is a big concern because, one, you start to plug up the highway as far as everybody trying to shelter underneath there, and then we can't get moving. That really is a struggle if the emergency vehicles can't get through. But also, they create air tunnels, so that allows for a lot of that air to quickly move under that overpass. So if you're out of your car and you're sheltered right underneath that overpass, you are going to be right in line for that flying debris to come flying through there at a fast rate of speed. So do not shelter under overpasses. We've seen instances and videos where I know people, they've been okay doing that, but that's just not a risk that any of us should be willing to take. Again, you're going to want to get in that low-lying area, avoid the overpasses, because that's just not a place that you want to hang out. Now, I know I'm covering a lot of severe weather safety, and the reason for it is back in March when we had Michigan Severe Weather Awareness Week, we were talking about snow in the forecast. So that kind of got spoiled for us to where we weren't really able to go over a lot of these facts and information. So that's why I wanted to cover it today, so that you were able to go and kind of think, all right, where am I going to go if severe weather strikes? What should I have in my emergency kit? You shouldn't be waiting for the storms to come. Right now is when you need to go and be thinking about all of those factors, and that is going to help you not waste time when the storm comes, so that you know how to stay safe. So of course, we're going to continue to have coverage that you can count on going throughout the summer. We're going to go and talk about what you should do in maybe certain homes, or if you're at work, school, whatever is going on, to make sure you are prepared for when severe weather strikes. Because again, we were very fortunate, but we even saw that Grand Blanc tornado back in February. So we are not free and clear from the severe weather season. Now, kind of on a lighter note, I'm going to switch gears here. So on a lighter note, and it may seem a little bit odd, so a month ago was April 8th, because today is May 8th. And so a month ago, do you remember what you were doing? Well, I was in Ohio because it was the total solar eclipse. Doesn't it seem like forever ago that we had the eclipse? Maybe that's just me. Sometimes time can be thrown off. But I just kind of wanted to keep it alive, considering all the planning that we had done and just how cool the experience was. I was able to go to Harriet, Ohio, which was just east of Lima, to be in the path of totality, which was absolutely amazing. It was so fast though. Totality, we had about 3 minutes and 50 seconds there of darkness, and it doesn't get completely dark. It's kind of about, I would describe it about 10 minutes after sunset, when you're kind of in that civil twilight, but it was dark enough to where the parking lot lights were turning on. And as far as some of the animals, there was just so many people, didn't quite hear too many of them, but it was definitely an experience that was worthwhile and fantastic to enjoy. And so I wanted to share a little bit of that with all of you. So our photojournalist, Dan Ray, he was also there, and he put together the story that I hope you enjoy.
It's amazing the people, this isn't their first eclipse.
I saw the one in 2017 down in Sweetwater, Tennessee.
Yeah, we're veterans.
Twice in a lifetime.
Yeah.
He's twice in a lifetime.
2017 in Caseville. So it was just the partial.
Oh, what the heck? That's cool.
You hear about what to expect, but you don't know it until you experience it.
Whoa!
I think it's always fascinating when there is a good event that we're all focused on. It's very powerful, really.
That's crazy.
Out in the parking lot, as you can see, people are in their lawn chairs. We've got Minnesota, Virginia, I think Wisconsin, Ohio, of course, and Michigan area.
Love of astronomy for sure, and love of things that happen once, twice in a lifetime. Why wouldn't you be here? This is incredible.
Totality is a whole nother animal. It just, I don't even know how to explain it. It's all inspiring, you know? It's just fabulous.
Whoa, it's a sliver.
Guys, it's a little sliver.
I mean, it's no words that can really describe just the feeling of seeing that.
Oh my goodness. There it goes, guys.
I mean, when dark stars came out,
Look, we can see a star.
it was just amazing.
Oh my gosh.
Surreal.
I mean, just the horizon, you know, having that pinkish orange glow.
That's once in a lifetime right there.
Well, I never thought I'd see anything like that.
Take it all in. Don't worry about the cameras, the telescopes, just take everything in.
We cheered, but I think it was just kind of just awe. I mean, there's just, I guess there's no really words to explain.
Christmas, birthday, anniversaries, everything rolled into one.
We've already said 2044, we're there.
Yeah. I'll be almost 60 then, but
Why not?
I may. I may just do that.
You know, life is short, and you need to take these moments that are so incredibly rare and just enjoy it.
Woo! Solar eclipse! Yay!
So it was definitely a fun afternoon, very quick, and so fortunate that we were able to have nice weather for that event. We did have some serious clouds. And one of the women that we were able to interview, she was saying that it was crystal clear when she saw it back in Tennessee back in 2017, and that with a little bit of cloud cover that we had, we were still able to see the eclipse, but it got a little bit darker than during totality. So she said that was a really unique experience to still be in the line. And even though we had some cloud cover, it just kind of added on to the experience. Now, there was a lot of fantastic people who were around us. We were parked next to people from Minnesota and other Michiganders as well. But there were so many license plates from a lot of different towns. So, of course, there was some travel slowdowns in the Toledo area. A lot of people there on the highway system. It was a little bit sluggish, but overall it was a fantastic experience. The next one is going to happen in the 2030s. That's only though going to happen in Alaska. So if you want to catch it in the United States, you are going to have to go for a little bit of a ride to get there. And then the next one that we have coming across the country is going to be in 2045. So mark your calendars, wait for that one to come in. But this one was definitely a fantastic experience to see. And again, we were so fortunate here, not only in the Midwest that we had that sunshine and just a little bit of cloud cover, but even here in mid-Michigan, when we had that partial eclipse, we were still able to just simply enjoy it. We had a couple that was from Saginaw and another couple from Auburn, and they said, I was so close, I had to go and see it. So it was just really fun to see them come and drive all through the area because they didn't want to miss out, considering how close it was to the area. So of course, I'm sure you've seen a lot of eclipse videos that were coming through, but I wanted to share that since it's been a month. Like I said, I can't believe it's been a month and now we have to wait years for the next one to come in. But overall, it still was a fantastic experience. And I know that I'm sure your camera roll is full of those as well. So as we wrap up here for this afternoon, again, as far as those severe weather concerns, we are in pretty good shape for today. You are going to find on our app the latest info. So if you don't have our app, this is going to be free to download from the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store. All you got to do is scan that QR code. If you are on your device, like I said, go to your app store and just search TV5 First Alert Weather, and the First Alert Weather app will then show up for you. So that's free to have. It's going to be a helpful tool when we do have severe weather chances. It's also great on severe weather days. I have an update waiting for you. You're also going to get weather extras just like we experienced. And also by using the app, you can find out about when we're hanging out here on the First Alert Weather Desk. So I thank you so much for spending your afternoon with me. And of course, make sure you stay weather aware as we go into the summer season.